The new gameplay trailer for Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl was just released at E3, and I noticed a few things about the locations in it that hints at what we might see in the final game once it's released. There's already a load of great analysis videos about the trailer on YouTube, but I haven't seen anyone talk about these things. So, let's dive in. I've already made a few videos comparing games set in the exclusion zone to the real-life exclusion zone, so what caught my eye with the new trailer were these 3 identifiable real-world locations that appear throughout. It should tell us what new locations we're likely to see in the finished game, and it will give us some idea about the layout, size and extent of the game world. A quick disclaimer, I'm a huge Stalker fan, but I may have missed a few things or interpreted it wrongly, so do let me know what you think in the comments. The first of these 3 locations we see is this scene with this guy, Bolshak, dancing. Judging by the basketball hoop on the wall and the upturned planks on the floor and the style of the windows, although they're not exactly correct, this looks to be a replica of this basketball court in the city of Pripyat, which in real life is right in the middle of the city, a stone's throw from the famous Ferris wheel. You might remember that from the first Stalker 2 trailer. The basketball court is in the same building as the Azure swimming pool, which is quite a well-known location in Pripyat. Fans of Modern Warfare might recognise it, so we might see that as a location as well. And I would take a guess that if they include this building and the Ferris wheel, Stalker 2's Pripyat might well focus on their central section of the city. That's where all the famous landmarks are, some of which you might recognise from Shadow of Chernobyl. And that would be different from cooler Pripyat, which only featured this area. Okay, so second location. In this section of the trailer, we can see quite a lot of the zone in the background, and most prominently these 2 cooling towers, which are the unfinished cooling towers for the 5th and 6th reactors at Chernobyl that were never finished because of the accident in 1986. If we plot this view on a real-life map, that would put us roughly here, looking in this direction. So from left to right, we see the river, the taller and then lower cooling towers, and this means we're standing on the unfinished Reactor 5 building. This whole unfinished section of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant would, I think, be a new location for the franchise. This area in the distance with the blue aura, if we use the real-world map and presume that GSC Game World are doing the same, it could be one of 2 locations, either this radioactive waste storage facility, or this building, which was an experimental laboratory. Yeah, unfortunately not that kind of experimental laboratory. It was basically a mink farm where they were breeding mink to test the effects of radiation on the wildlife. Either way, judging from this shot, it looks like this whole section to the east of the power plant will feature in the game for the first time in the franchise. That leaves this building here, and the profile suggests it's the Duga radar facility, which we see at the end of the trailer. In real life, if we were standing here, we wouldn't be able to see it. It would be further round to the right, but it looks like for gameplay's sake, they've moved it. So the Duga radar array was originally a Soviet over-the-horizon radar system, nicknamed the Russian woodpecker because it broadcast short-wave radio bursts that sounded like this. The brain scorcher from Shadow of Chernobyl and the antenna at Lemansk from Clear Sky are both inspired by the real-life Duga radar, but judging from the trailer and this shot from the original trailer that was released, this site is way bigger and is actually a version of the full Duga radar array. So given all that, it's safe to assume we're going to get a game map that features Pripyat, the unfinished section of the power plant, as well as the power plant itself. I mean, the game we now know is subtitled Heart of Chernobyl, so how could it not? Whether Stalker 2's game world will be relatively geographically accurate like it was in cooler Pripyat, or whether they'll pick the best bits and stick them all together like they did in Shadow of Chernobyl remains to be seen. I've got a crazy theory that, judging by the map locations, the player could progress from a start location in or near Pripyat, through the power plant, and then end at the Duga radar array. That would mirror the way that Shadow of Chernobyl, which was a much more linear game, organised the zone so that the player started in Cordon and ended at the nuclear power plant at the end game. I say this because at the end of this new trailer, we see the player taking out a few monolith soldiers with the Gauss rifle, which would suggest it's near the end of the game, if the previous game's anything to go by, and of course it's right next to the Duga radar. That would actually indicate a much more linear game than perhaps a lot of people were thinking. So that's my theory, that's probably a load of rubbish. Let me know what you think in the comments. Soon I'll be releasing a video which will be a proper thorough breakdown of all of the influences that went into creating the Zone in the Stalker franchise, from its origins in censored Soviet sci-fi all the way through to the modern modding community, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next video.